pork and products and high protein meats from border to border. So this is exciting. I want to thank Randy and Karen for opening up a Dakota Butcher here for us to come in and tour. The facility will be up and running soon, and we're excited that Rapid City will have the opportunity to enjoy this business, which we have already enjoyed on the eastern half of the state in several different locations too. I really believe it's been a really tough year for a lot of people. It's been a tough year for our meat producers as well. COVID-19 has put new pressure on the food and supply chains here in the state, but also across the country. But we've also seen that because of that and the pressure in our supply chain, that we have used that challenge to create new opportunities for others, to expand our ability to process our meats closer here to home and to highlight the need to increase our capacity as well. Many of these businesses couldn't keep up with the rise of demand the last year. Because bigger facilities were slowed down or shut down, the smaller ones were asked to do more. They did the very best that they could, but they needed more room, they needed more space, they needed more equipment, and they needed the ability to partner with the state and with some dollars to make sure they had the opportunity to take advantage of expansion when it was available. That's why we started the Meat Processing Grant Program. This last year I proposed to the legislature to fund $5 million towards a meat processing grant program that we could help a lot of these local families expand their operations and use it to add to our processing capacity. That was an issue that the Lieutenant Governor and Secretary Roberts took forward and championed to the legislature. The legislature did support this grant program to go out and to add facilities like this, like processing facilities that Randy and Karen have in Watertown and in Clark, which is where their main facility is, to make sure that it is going to cash flow, it is going to get up and running, and it can serve its customers going forward. I also want to thank Senator Castleberry, who's here, because she was a champion of the program, and we're just grateful for her support, because her speaking to her colleagues about it and the importance of investing in our people here made all the difference in the world in getting it across the finish line. Today, the Subject Secretary Hunter Roberts will announce with the Department of Ag and Natural Resources 99 meat processing grants that will go out to expand facilities and to help buy new equipment, and then also $1.5 million will go to completely new facilities across the state. Brand new businesses that will get up and running because of those dollars that have been invested through the meat processing grant program. People will have more options to market their products, will have more opportunities to access meat that's grown here by South Dakota producers, and more importantly, will be better prepared and have a more stable food supply chain. This is how I've always spoken about our nation's food supply. It's a national security issue. It is imperative that we grow our own food in this country, that we process it and we can get it to the people who live here. When another country controls our food, that's when they control us. So I've always been passionate about making sure that we have thriving farms and ranches here in South Dakota. We support them by allowing them to add value to their products, and then we give the people who live in this state and across the country the opportunity to enjoy those products on their dinner tables every single day. Now, we've seen also disruptions of the supply chain this week with seeing what's happened at JBS. We've seen hackers come in and be able to impact over 20% of our nation's capacity just by going after their computer systems. And that's a real threat to us too. Something that we should recognize brings a lot of value in this facility here, in the facilities that we have in processors across the state, that we can diversify that supply chain and we have more stability if one or two entities does get attacked in the future. We are also going to be expanding into the CIS program, which the Lieutenant Governor will be speaking about. That's a huge opportunity for South Dakota processors to market our beef for the first time through state-owned facilities across state lines to other states and people across the country, which is going to be great for us and a new opportunity for us to add value. I'm excited to be with all of you here. This is a great day. Thank you for investing in Rapid City. Thank you for investing in South Dakota and the people here, creating jobs, giving people the opportunity to have high-quality food here that is served with a smile, from people who are passionate about our way of life. And I'm grateful that you're taking the opportunity to tell your story, because your story will inspire more people to take a chance on this state. I've long believed that the people that we have here are the best in the world, and telling your story will encourage more people to maybe pursue their dreams, start their own business, and help become the important part of our food supply chain that we need to support and be successful. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Larry Roden to share a few words with you about how the meat processing grant program has worked, got established, and also the CIS program. So Larry, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Governor. Very much a privilege to be here today and talk about some of the things that are happening that we've been working on to help alleviate the problem that our producers and our consumers, for that matter, realize because of the pandemic. Originally, we were just trying to get through to the next day on the pandemic. And I think it's worthy of mentioning that early on, especially with the Smithfield closure, our pork producers specifically had their backs against the wall. In other areas and other states, there were literally hundreds of thousands of hogs that had to be euthanized and went to waste. I think there's a lot of credit that goes out to producers and ag groups and processors that stepped up to the plate, and South Dakota was in a unique position, and mostly because still the majority of our hog producers are independently owned. So that gave us the flexibility to get through that crisis and avert that. Moving forward, we were looking at long-term solutions, short-term and long-term solutions to some of the problems that we face in the cattle industry. And almost always, everything points back to the bottleneck, which is processing. Every time there's a disruption in processing, we saw it with Smithfield through the pandemic, retail prices go up, live beef prices go down, and that's an ongoing problem. So what the governor's laid out for her vision, I think, is the right approach in South Dakota. First of all, with the grant process, the grant program, to allow our local processors the ability to increase their capacity. And we've seen in the last year, these processing facilities are months behind, years behind in their orders for processing of beef and other meat products. So short-term fix is to allow these processors the ability to increase their capacity through a grant program. On the long-term side of it, the governor touched on the CIS program, which is cooperative interstate shipment. As the producer or the processor's capacity catches up and they're looking for more opportunity to expand their market, they will have the opportunity to enlist in the cooperative interstate shipment program, which would allow them to sell their beef outside of the state nationwide. And so long-term, that has a lot of potential for our state and for our consumers as well. And as the governor mentioned, this is not just about producers, it's not just about processors, it's about our consumers, their choices, their availability, and as the governor stated, food security is national security. So with that, I would turn this over to Mr. and Mrs. Dunewald. Did I say Dunewald? Sorry about that. Well, I took the pressure off Hunter Roberts, I think. Thank you all.
Karen and I have been in this business since we got married 40 years ago, in and out, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is probably the most critical time for a lot of these processors, as the governor's figured out and the rest of you guys has figured out, and I really don't think this could have came at a more opportune time for everybody. This grant money's just like I was discussing earlier with you guys. A grinder costs $20,000. A cooler could go, or a freezer could cost you up to $50,000. So everything is really with this COVID. I don't know if that's an excuse or what it is, but everything takes a lot longer to get done. Everything costs a lot more to get done, or costs a lot more to get it done. So I think that we couldn't have asked for a better governor and staff than for more support than they have. And I'm going way back to the hog that we were talking about earlier, the hogs that we opened up SDSU, the slaughter side of it, and that was really good for us. It was like we said, like the Lieutenant Governor, no, Department of, yeah, okay. I was going to come back on it. But like you said, working with the pork council and the guys in the pork industry, it really, we didn't see the level of losses in the industry that we could have without the support from your office through your eagerness to get it done and make snap decisions instead of going through the bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it of normal government that we see out in Washington. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I say it every day.
So I want to thank our governor and everybody else in the ag industry. I've been with it all my life since 1982, either in the lending side of it as an ag lender, or in the processing side of it, or in the retail side of it. And without all of the support from our state, we couldn't do what we're doing today. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You get thanked.
Yes, thank you.
On behalf of the members that make up South Dakota Cattlemen's Association, we wish to thank Governor Noem for making this grant program happen. COVID-19 exposed animal processing capacity as a weak link to our beef supply system. This grant program not only helps address that weak link through financial assistance to upgrade or update and increase processing capacity, but it also addresses the challenge our local cattle producers face in getting beef processed for direct sales to our state's consumers. For along with the challenges that COVID-19 pandemic has created, has opportunities for increased direct marketing by our beef producers. But we need the processors to be able to keep up with that demand. This program is a positive first step towards that goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Eric's president of the South Dakota Cattlemen's Association. Next up, I think we'll do Larry Stomperud with Farm Bureau.
Thanks, Hunter. We would like to thank the governor for inviting us here, and I thank you for coming out to West River and opening this facility. This grant program is a win-win situation for everybody. It's a win for the producers, it's a win for the processors, and it's a win for the consumers. And I think this will give the state, and therefore everybody in the state, more options in marketing their animals and keeping the farm fresh food in front of the consumers, and in keeping our processing capacity a little higher and more viable. It's a huge step in the right direction, and I would thank the governor and the governor's office and the legislature, for that matter, in doing that for these producers. We in South Dakota know how to raise some of the best beef in the world, if not the best beef in the world. But we've experienced difficulties in getting that those animals processed and to market. I myself do a little bit of direct marketing beef, and the way it has been recently is that you have to reserve kill slots before that animal is born, and it's really a problem for those of us that just maybe have a few head. I'd like to see the capability of the capacity in the state doubled or tripled or even more, but that's for another year.
Yep.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Your work, that's good. And like to thank everybody that came here, and especially you for coming out here and opening this facility. I think it'd be good for us.
Thanks, Larry. Next up, certainly for talkers, last but not least, James Halverson of South Coast Stock Growers Association.
maybe I'm last and least because I didn't prepare much. So just want to say thank you to the governor for inviting us here today and for getting this program off the ground, this grant program. You know, it's something that we've long advocated for with the South Dakota stock growers, and we like to see, we love to see it actually come to fruition and help these people out. And so, you know, just last week, 12%, a mere 12% of the cattle were bought on the open cash market. That's not very good for our industry. That's hurting producers. And it's replicable business models like this that's going to help combat that. And, you know, she already alluded to the food security issues. I think that's a wonderful thing that, you know, these models, you know, we saw that during the pandemic, and these models are what's going to help keep people fed when things aren't going so good. So I commend Randy and Karen for this. We look forward to building a partnership with you, and we just thank you for being able to be a part of your day.
Thanks, James. I think we're available for questions. Certainly like to stick to the program to start with for questions. I think everyone that spoke is willing to take a few, so thank you.
You know, obviously a year ago this was such a weak link in, you know, our I guess slaughtering capacity with the shutdown in Smithfield and all that kind of stuff. You know, as the supply chain gets back to normal and meat is on the shelves of Walmart, is the market still heading in this direction? Will consumers go back to the way they were, or is this kind of a, you know, a scar in their mind of what happened last year, and they're willing to do this kind of thing? Go to.
You know, I think that's a good question. Looking into the future, anyone can tell. I think what we've learned through the pandemic is that food security is real, even in America, even in Central America where we produce a lot of food. I think it's been a great opportunity for producers and folks that don't live on the farm, come from communities that are a little bit insulated from the face of agriculture, to reach out and meet a producer and get that meat directly, know the story. I think that's just a great thing all around, to have a face with kind of who you know and where you get your meat from. You look at the younger generation, certainly product source and what went into it certainly is a lot more important than, you know, my generation and older. So I think it's something that with programs like this, it creates new opportunities to facilitate that thing. And I think it's all upside. I mean, you look at, we were talking to the Grunwalds earlier, and they said, reaching out to a producer in today's market, you're getting better meat that you know where it comes from, utilizing a local processor, local jobs, and you're getting it for cheaper than what you can buy at the store shelves. So it's just a win-win-win. So I think it's a great thing, and we're very proud of the program and hope that you know, folks like the Grunwalds implement it and we get more throughput.
Hi, yep, so mine is for the Grunwalds, if that's all right. I was just curious, what kind of specific challenges you faced within the last year? And yeah, just what was your experience going through that? What were your feelings?
Well, we felt like we had to help. We've been doing this. Well, like I said, I've been in the meat industry ever since I got out of high school, and even in banking, I dealt with a lot of farmers that, like these gentlemen, are ranchers, and so we were to the point where I was paying lots of overtime to make sure we were hiring as many people as we could hire, that the ones that weren't sitting at home collecting a paycheck from the government, we were hiring them. And those are the people I'm so proud of, and I can't tell you enough how, and that's one thing we should be thanking too, you guys, is all these processors, or the capacity that grants that were given them. If we didn't have the people working there to do the work, the money's no good. So we ought to thank each and every one of our people that are in there cutting the meat and wrapping the meat and doing all the work, because if it wasn't for them, we don't need the money. And I tell you what, it's easy to sit at home. It's easy to do. This is a hard job, and so we and South Dakota people are hard-working people, and so in my and high-quality product. I think when you say South Dakota, you think high-quality, clean air, hard-working. I think I don't know if I'm going in the right direction for you, but that's how I felt, and that's how Karen felt. That's how Ida felt. That's how Ed felt. The people that are working for me, they were doing anything they could to get the beef processed for the guys like you guys. So that's how I felt. And I think we did a heck of a job. We doubled our capacity, and we did I think they should be commended all throughout the state, the guys that are doing it. Should have a day for them, you know?
We should. That's right. Keeping us fed.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Other questions? Sure, go ahead.
Colton Hall from News Center 1. Kind of a two-part question here. Number one, what does this kind of mean for future processing companies coming to this side of the state? Is it kind of serving a bigger need in terms of filling that need, I guess? And then also number two, could we see more businesses like this come to the western part of the state?
Yeah, I think what this program says to the rest of the country is that South Dakota is willing to partner with them to create a business in this state that supports our local industry, our number one industry. The grant program was $5 million. I think Hunter said we had over $35 million worth of requests. So I'm hopeful that this is something we can continue and get the legislature's support for into the future, but that's why we're also pursuing the CIS program, is to allow these processors to add value to the products and be able to sell them across state lines too, so other people in other states can enjoy that. We've also partnered with our technical schools to get more people trained to fill the workforce needs that Randy and Karen have told us all about today, so that we actually get people here who want to get a higher skill level to get that higher paying job and be in a business like this, that we're facilitating that here in South Dakota. So I would say across the country, we're doing things here that other states aren't doing. We're being innovative, we're partnering with businesses to help them grow and capitalize on this challenging year we faced, turning it into an opportunity to grow their business, keep their families here, and be much more successful.
So, as we know, this is a nationwide supply line issue, and it is affecting specifically South Dakota as well. There are other states like Missouri giving out $20 million and Oregon giving out $10 million in grant programs as well. So is there hope that with this program, we can kind of keep these competitive among other states that have sort of agriculture industries?
I don't know if it's competitive. I just think everybody learned the same lesson that we saw here, is that a diversified supply chain is better for the country. It's better for the people that live here. You buy everything from one store and that store gets a hiccup or their computer system goes down from a hack, then you've stopped the complete flow of products that consumers need on a daily basis. So diversifying the industry makes sense. It keeps more competition out there, cheaper prices for families to keep food on the table, and it also helps businesses be more successful and invest in themselves. Yep.
What kind of need is there for more, like packers and communities all over the place?
I don't want any more packers. I'm sick of packers.
Yeah.
In fact, I think packers are stealing from our producers. So this kind of opportunity to process our beef in more facilities takes the power away from them to manipulate our markets.
How many more, are needed? What would be ideal, I suppose?
I don't know if there's an ideal number, but we have a lot of head of cattle in this state. A lot of hogs are raised here. We have the ability to produce even more. We're not even close to touching the surface of what we could have and host here in the state for processing. So this is a drop in the bucket, but it's a start, and I think we can prove that it works, and it is something that the people will be able to see is necessary and beneficial to their way of life, and it'll inspire us to do even more.
And then what's standing in the way of this CIS? Like what comes next in terms of making that happen?
Well, CIS required us to apply to the federal government, to USDA, to form this partnership. So as soon as we learned of the program, we started that process. And to get this agreement in place with USDA, many times our state-owned facilities and processing facilities are held to even higher standards than the federal, inspected facilities are. So we knew that we did a fantastic job in our state-inspected facilities. We also knew that our hands were tied. If something is processed in a state facility, it couldn't be marketed across state lines. By participating in CIS, it says now those state-inspected facilities can market anywhere in the country if we have this agreement with USDA. So we're getting close to the finish line on that, and that'll be stood up soon. Which, Randy talked a little bit today about what that means for him. He was excited to hear that we're gonna get that done, because then now he can sell his products that have been processed in his facility in Clark, South Dakota, not just in South Dakota. He can sell them anywhere in the country. Whole new market for him. Any other questions before we? I thought Ian was taking our speaker away. So, all right, everybody, thank you for being. Yes, Lee, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, this is obviously tied into COVID relief money.
Yes.
We have like a new round of 1.3 billion. I guess are there talks about what to do with that money?
There are talks about the dollars that will be coming to the state, how best to utilize them to help businesses that were challenged and families that were challenged by COVID, but also to use it as an opportunity to support those industries that were impacted. So there's a legislative committee that is working on it this summer to give recommendations, and we're going through the Treasury guidance, and I want everybody to remember that we as states are always accountable to the guidance that comes out of the Treasury Department in Washington, D.C. And when these dollars are spent, that I'm the state will be the one that will be audited to make sure that they're spent appropriately according to how the will of Congress was when it was passed. So we're getting more and more details on that guidance. The legislature's meeting to talk about what they think would be a good place to invest those dollars, and that'll be debated during next legislative session.
Governor Noem,
Yes.
I know you want to stay in the program. I did want to ask one
Sure,
question.
go ahead.
The fireworks
Yes.
was launched yesterday. Are you in the appeal process yet? Have you yet started with that?
Yeah, we are still continuing to fight for our fireworks at Mount Rushmore. Here's the deal. President Biden told us that we could be celebrating our independence from this virus by July 4th. He's declared that over and over again. And the fact that they are denying us the opportunity to have this celebration at Mount Rushmore for the 4th of July based on nothing except political and punitive reasons tells me that it's unlawful what they're doing, that we're going to continue to challenge it in court, and that I'm hopeful that we'll get a court that sees that taking these kinds of decisions and using them to retaliate against a state for political reasons and arbitrary reasons is not acceptable.
Kind of going back to meat processing here a little bit. You touched on the aspect of being able to sell in other states, what that will do for producers. What will that do for South Dakota producers in terms of competition prices and all that, and being able to open up that separate market?
Well, I was a rancher my whole life, and what frustrated me so many times is that I would work all year, sometimes for several years, to raise a cow, a calf, a steer, a heifer. I'd take it to the sale barn, and I had to take whatever price they gave me. And a lot of that was controlled beyond state borders by big out-of-state packers and manipulators in the market that were always involved and tied up in how much money I got to put in my pocket after doing the work after a year or two of raising that animal. So I've lived it on that side of the business. When I was in the legislature, when I worked in Congress, since I've been governor, I understand even more the details of how important it is to have processors like this out here and to add value to our products closer to home and to be able to sell them to more and more people and open up those markets. So diversified markets are good for everybody. Brings more competition in, make sure you get better quality products to people and they have more choices. It also drives down costs for them, but it also gives that rancher a more competitive market that he can or she can go out and have 4 or 5 bidders on their animals instead of just one and being tied to whatever price they get when it runs through the ring. All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. Have a wonderful day and come back here when the doors are open and buy a lot of beef. We'll talk to you soon.